What's up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm a little bit under the weather today, but I did want to get this video out for y'all. So without further ado, I'm going to tell y'all how I lost my results and ended up worse off than when I first started. So if you're struggling to even see results, if you're lacking in confidence, you're insecure, you have that constant thought like in your head, if I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, and it's stressing you out and it's weighing on you, and you're also fueled by insecurity and frustration. Trust me, I've been there. I thought I got out of it. I actually didn't get out of it. Because I fell right back to where I started. Again, when you have a lot of insecurity and frustration, you don't tend to take a lot of pictures. I know that I use a lot of the same old photos. I didn't want to be seen. If I'm being real, I didn't want pictures taken of me. I didn't want to take pictures of myself for a while because of that insecurity. I do apologize that I didn't do that because I know now I don't have much to showcase for it. But you can see here on the right what I used to, or no, the left. Well, on the right of the screen, but the left of the graphic or the diagram, what I kind of used to look like. Again, the pictures were terrible because you can literally tell that in this first photo here, I'm trying to hide behind my arm because I know that I'm feeling insecure, and that honestly, not having to do that anymore was one of the probably best things ever from being able to like start my fitness journey and stuff. But I've also noticed this with a lot of clients and all that kind of stuff. So I want to help you because a lot of these videos are tailored towards younger me or any people that are struggling with this because I know what it feels like and I know that it's hard. So I'm going to walk you through three main things that I kind of struggled with that made me lose my results. So hopefully you can avoid those and keep the progress that you make so that you don't have to experience any extra frustration, because I do say this often, but frustration paired with a lack of knowledge is a lot of the reason as to why people give up on their fitness journey. But let's go ahead and get into the video. I want to remind you guys to do hard things, have the courage to be uncomfortable, don't give a shit what anyone says about you, and be confident. I know I definitely probably said those out of order. One more thing, the new year starts tonight, tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's January 1st. Today is the last day of 2024. If there's anything that I could go back and change from the very beginning of my fitness journey was to just start the minute I realized that I was unhappy. I wish right then and there I took action, and I didn't. So if that's you, you're contemplating a goal, you're contemplating starting your fitness journey or doing anything, start. Do not wait for the perfect time because there isn't one. Without further ado, let's start the video. I'm going to try to keep this video as short as possible, so I'm going to keep it concise, succinct, and basically tell you straight up exactly where I struggled and how you can navigate it better so that you don't lose your results. The first thing that I want to discuss, so my goal. I wanted to change my body composition, be confident, get stronger, and prove it to myself. So before I actually sat down and thought about it, I was just like, oh, I want to look good in the mirror. I want abs. I want muscles, right? But it obviously meant more to me, but I was looking at it at such a one-dimensional stance that when times got hard and I was like, oh, well, I don't really give a fuck about abs because this is really hard. I'm whatever. But when I thought about proving it to myself, being confident, getting stronger, all those things, when it got hard, I was like, no, I want to prove it to myself. And I started thinking about those reasons and not just I want muscles or I want abs. It gave me just a little bit more motivation, kept me a bit more grounded, and made me less likely to give up because I wasn't just thinking about some vanity goal. That was the first issue. Instead of just thinking about, oh, because I could always be like, oh, like I'll just worry about that in the summer, right? But when you think about proving it to yourself, being more confident in yourself, getting stronger, all those things almost lit a fire under my ass. But until I realized that it meant more to me than just the way that I looked, I struggled to stay on track. Okay, so the first area in which I really struggled that made me lose my results was my focus. Again, I was focused so much on that vanity goal and that being lean and all that kind of stuff that I didn't really pay attention to becoming the person who had and kept the physique that I wanted. Because not only did I want a better physique, but I think I really wanted growth and I wanted a better life. And I wanted like a career goal, monetary goal. Like I had all these other goals. But at the time, because I was a little bit insecure and really frustrated, I was focused solely on however I needed to get to the certain physique. Now I would shift my focus to almost like chasing growth, not chasing the physique. When you chase growth, the physique then becomes a byproduct of you continuously getting better. And that growth is then translated into other aspects or areas of your life, whether it be financial, whether it be like job related stuff, any other personal goals, anything that's not related to fitness. When you consistently pursue the concept of growing and personal development, all those things that you want and those goals are a byproduct of always growing. So shift your focus from physique money, whatever those things are, actual objectives, to how can I be better than yesterday? How can I make better decisions and choices and all those kinds of things? How can I grow as a person? How can I improve? And when you start consistently chasing improvement, that will be reflected in your physique, in your lifestyle, even in the way that you speak. I would simply just shift my focus from, oh, I want to have abs, I want to have muscles, to I want to be the best version of me possible, because then I will actually have the physique and keep the physique. I will have the money and keep the money, because then I will become the person who has the tools, the knowledge, the emotional awareness to maintain those things and almost operate at a higher level of success than had I just focused on, oh, how am I going to get abs? The next arena in which I really struggled was my strategy. So I was very much fueled by insecurity and frustration, and due to that, I took an improper approach to nutrition and training. I viewed training as punishment. I tried to do way too much of it because I had such a negative relationship with it, because I don't want to say I hated myself, that's a bit harsh, but I just did not like what I saw in the mirror, and I blamed myself, and I had a negative relationship with myself. So training was almost seen as punishment, right? And then as far as my nutrition went, I think that I put myself in a 500 calorie deficit based on what I got from my TDEE calculator online. Again, a lot of us will go on there, type in our metrics, and think that that's the law, and then we'll just go based off of it. And I kind of just took that and ran with it. I didn't really try anything, didn't play around with it, hit multiple plateaus. Energy levels were in the trash, metabolism were in the trash, because obviously your metabolism will adapt. And I correlated restriction with results, which I've spoken about this in previous videos. But when you correlate restriction with results, I call that the path to zero, because if you see any sort of result that you're looking for, whether it be a decrease in the scale or a pant size goes down, or you just get a little bit smaller and you're restricting yourself, your brain makes that subconscious linkage that in order to get those results, you have to continue to restrict. And when we think about that, we tend to gravitate towards absolutes because it gives us a bit of certainty, when in reality, your nutrition, your digestion, your body, psychologically, physically, and the lifestyle that you live is all so contextual, and it's such a gray area. But because we are constantly wondering if we're doing the right thing or if it's working, we tend to gravitate towards those absolutes. So coming at it from an absolute standpoint, the opposing theory to the concept of restriction yielding results would be addition yielding the adverse of results, which would be taking you away from the goals. Because I was thinking that way, it led for me to fear adding food, to eating more, to fueling myself, and that made this journey a lot slower. And I couldn't sustain it because I was restricting instead of focusing on growing, building the physique, not restricting myself into being miserable, lacking energy, having a shit metabolism, all that kind of stuff. So yes, the strategy or approach that I implemented was extreme restriction by throwing myself into a deficit. I didn't pay attention to the deficit, so whatever I was putting in the deficit was probably not working towards my goals when it could have. So if I could have implemented proper structure when it came to when I ate carbs, when I ate fats, when I ate protein, a lot of this was because of all the stress of, am I doing the right thing, that I didn't have the extra mental capacity to think about all the details, because I lacked knowledge and because I was fueled by frustration and insecurity. So my strategy was all out of whack. Training was done as punishment, so it was done in excess, so it was inefficient. Nutrition, all I did was put myself in a deficit. I didn't carb cycle. I didn't strategize when I was going to eat certain nutrients to keep me full, to fuel my performance, to make sure that I had proper rest and recovery. And I didn't have the mental capacity to even pay attention to those details that I'd add now, because I had so much insecurity, negative emotions, and all this stuff kind of pressuring me in my head. My strategy was essentially to train as much as possible, eat as little as I could, and do as much cardio, and somewhere in between I was going to have that dream physique. Because that was my strategy, it was inefficient, and it led to cycles of binging due to over restriction, and it led to me not adhering to training because I viewed it as something that was very negative. And I just had no concept or knowledge of basic nutrition, which again, that can be learned. So that's not something that I'm going to kind of like fault myself for, because I was probably in the process of learning it. If you guys resonate with that strategy, you really listen here, because you need to focus on fueling and building your dream physique. It's hard to learn these things, but the one thing that I can encourage you to do is take the time to learn your body. Learn when you perform best, what fuels you best for your workouts. Nobody wants to learn what works best for them. They want to take what they see on YouTube of someone who's ripped and shredded and just force themselves into it, because they don't have the patience to see what works best for them, when in reality, learning what works best for you is what's going to allow you to keep that physique. That's pretty much everything I have to say about my strategy. Lastly, I'm really proud of myself for keeping this short. Sometimes I tend to keep these really long because I do have a lot to say, but I wanted this to be easily digestible for you guys. The biggest thing that was in my way was myself. So I kind of talked a little bit about my focus and my strategy, and how my focus was not so much on becoming a better person, but looking a certain way. So when I looked at myself, I never took a couple steps back to realize, wait, how did I fall into binge eating? How did I get here? What happened to me that I'm not addressing that's making me lean on food for emotional support? It's making me do the things that I do. Why am I lazy? Because no one's born lazy. You're born with a clean slate for the most part. These are things that are developed or ingrained in us in childhood. And I never ever took a second to take a look back to figure out, okay, wait, I'm in a spot where I don't like. Let me learn what I did to get here. I never did that. I was like, how the hell can I get out of this as fast as possible? So because I was in a rush, I wasn't patient, I was a little bit inconsistent, lacking in discipline, all those traits within myself, I wasn't able to keep the progress, right? I never addressed why I had those things and what made me do that. So when I forced myself into the all or nothing mentality where I would be like disciplined for a few months, consistent for a few months, I fell back out of it because I never thought about why I lacked those things or why I lacked that discipline. So looking at myself, I struggled, I grew up, I was very insecure. I had a lot of social anxiety. I had anxiety to the point where like I couldn't, walk into a room knowing other people were in there. So I was the first one everywhere. I was early to everything because I could not physically walk into a room with knowing that there was other people. And I struggled dealing with my emotions. There were some things that I never unworked that caused me later on to lean on food as a crutch to get through those things because I didn't have the mental fortitude to face those emotions. So I got into cycles of binge eating when I experienced stress, and I didn't even understand that that was what I was doing, so therefore I couldn't stop it. Right? I never took a look as to what was causing the problems. I just tried to slap a quick fix on there or a Band-Aid on it instead of being like, okay, what is the actual root cause? Like sitting with my feelings, figuring out what it is, because you can become addicted to food and you can see food as dopamine. And when you see it as dopamine and not something that's meant to fuel you or, go off of your primal instinct and your normal hunger cues, you aren't going to know when to stop because your brain's going to continuously want that dopamine. And when you don't have principles of consistency and discipline, you are not going to be able to stop yourself. And I didn't understand that. I didn't realize that. So essentially, I was the biggest issue because I wasn't figuring myself out. I was almost fighting against myself to try to get that physique-based result. When in reality, if I would have sat there and sat with myself and figured out why do I do the things that I do? What are my negative habits that are keeping me stuck? I spent a lot of time looking for an outward fix on an issue that was very much inward and something that I had to self-reflect on. And a lot of us do it. A lot of us have those issues. To put everything into summary for you, I want you to shift your focus on actually becoming the person who possesses those things that you want. Instead of focusing on those things that you want, like the actual things, focus on becoming a person who has those. What standard do they hold themselves to? What would they do? What are their habits, right? Because fundamentally right now, you are not the person who has the physique, the money, whatever the hell the goal is. So focus on becoming that person and implementing those principles and holding yourself to that standard. And as a byproduct of just doing those things in due time, you will get those results that you're looking for. And then when it comes to your strategy, again, if you are fueled by negativity, frustration, insecurity, any of those things, do not let the way that you think, the way that you feel affect the actual strategy. Build your strategy off reason and logic and take the time to learn your body, learn what works for you. A lot of the stuff that I tell you guys are what I implement with my clients and with myself. There's so much context to them in terms of how they are psychologically, physiologically, as well as the lives that they live. Take those factors within yourself and build a plan around that. Take the time to learn the knowledge. I already tell you guys for the most part when I strategize, when I place carbs where, and how you can implement those kinds of things. So if you want to, go watch any of the other videos on my channel. There's tons of information in there if you just want to know a general strategy to how you should structure your nutrition. So making sure that you're strategizing based on reason and logic and not your emotion, because half of this shit would have been resolved if I didn't get in my head. Lastly, when it came to myself, I spent so much time trying to force myself into a calorie deficit into this training regimen, when in reality, the reason that I got to being overweight, dealing with binging in a position that I didn't like, whether it be fitness or financial or whatever, was because of who I was and things that I was not changing. I tried to fight myself to get to the goal that I wanted, when in reality, I needed to work on those things within myself, heal those issues, figure out why I do what I do so that I can get there in a more efficient manner. So not only can I get there quicker and not be as frustrated, but also be able to maintain it because I worked on the mental side of things. I'm very, very big on a few things, those being the psychological side of building your dream physique is almost as hard, if not harder, and the practical application and knowledge of nutrition and training, as well as you being your biggest obstacle, right? It's usually not a problem with the plan. It's usually not a problem with anything other than the fact that you get in your head and you make decisions based off emotion. And lastly, there are so many different points of leverage to building your dream physique, whether it be nutrition, training, cardio, sleep, rest. There's so many different points. When we don't use all of them, we are being inefficient, because if we have all these points of leverage, we might as well use them to our advantage instead of having to fight them. And you are one of those points of leverage. If you are fighting yourself to keep this physique, to get this physique, you will eventually succumb to the things that you are not facing. And you could possibly end up further behind the starting line from when you originally started, similar to what I did. So figure out what makes you, whatever it is that you're not facing is going to catch up to you one way or another. So face it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I want to wish you guys a happy new year. If you want to work with me one-to-one to build your dream physique and be confident, I will leave the link in the description down below, and I will personally reach out to you if you're a good fit. And if you want to see more of me or message me personally, I will link my Instagram in the description of this video as well. I'm genuinely so thankful for all you guys. Every single person that's applied to work with me, everyone that comments on my videos, DMs me. I promise you guys, I see it. I love y'all so much. I'm so happy you resonate with my message. Genuinely makes me happy to know that I'm helping you, and I want to see you guys reach your goals. If there's anything that you do after watching this video, it's to, of course, do hard shit and be confident, but most importantly, start now. I love y'all. I'll see you in the next one.